James Gunn and his plan to reboot DC has been surrounded with controversy. First, he lies to fans about practically everything, then he releases the worst image I've ever seen used as a first look. Then we all got to see his Superman and friends in some set pics, and it all just looked so bad. I mean, I already made a whole video on those pictures, but just thinking about them makes me laugh. Despite Gunn's pathetic attempt to pretend nothing was spoiled, even though we saw multiple new characters and found out they arrest Superman, which is a pretty big deal, we got a good idea about certain plot points, and a lot of people have started putting the pieces together.
There is a pattern.
To be clear, this is all just theories based on putting together set pictures and previous rumors, so there's a good chance things have changed or it's plain wrong, but there's enough evidence to support it that it's worth discussing. As you can see, the idea is Superman is the only hero left who doesn't kill and serves as an inspiration for other heroes to change. We all saw that coming the moment Gunn announced the Authority, and even though he tried covering up their presence, it was obvious he was setting up Superman to be in a position where he has to unite the other heroes behind the idea of doing better. The next part is the most interesting to me because if it's true, it exposes yet another classic lie from Jimmy the Idiot. Apparently Lex is profiting off a war in a foreign nation that sounds a lot like it's in the Middle East until Superman intervenes. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because a while back there were rumors that this movie would involve a Middle Eastern conflict and the big T word I won't say on YouTube. James Gunn shot it down in very plain terms. He was extremely clear not only would there be no big T in the Middle East, but his movie didn't include the Middle East at all.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Now if this leak is true, I can already hear the pathetic arguments from his shill fans. He made up the country, it's not in the Middle East. They'll say that even when the people all look Middle Eastern, the environment looks Middle Eastern, and the language they speak sounds pretty damn Middle Eastern. The theory is backed up by an IMDb credit for a reporter from that country. So while I'm not saying it's confirmed, at this point, scoopers on Twitter are more trustworthy than the guy running DC.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
The rest of the rumor isn't anything groundbreaking. Basically, the government sends in Lex's Superman clone Ultraman to bring in Superman, but he eventually degrades into Bizarro. The Daily Planet reporters try to expose Lex while Superman and the other heroes fight Bizarro, but in the end Lex survives and runs for president, which is honestly the most annoying well-known Lex Luthor arc. The funniest part is the last bit here, which says the end of the movie sets up a bunch of DC properties going forward. That's not surprising given Gunn himself said they plan to use A-list characters as launching pads for other heroes, which has been one of the biggest complaints about this movie so far. It's so full of characters that it's obvious Gunn is trying to stack the deck in his favor. But the other way of looking at it goes back to an old rumor saying they stacked this movie because they want it to be a showcase to potential WB DC buyers. From what we know, it sounds like a movie built with that in mind. Here's the potential of this universe and all the crazy directions the story can go. Plus, look at all these characters you get. Right now, all of this is a rumor, but based on what we've seen and heard so far, it doesn't seem like that big of a leap. If you're thinking nobody will be dumb enough to have this be the first Superman movie, well viewer, I would direct you to the set photos to show you the idiots we're dealing with here. I could easily believe the moron who greenlit these suits would come up with a plot this stupid. I really do hope the showcase rumor is true for Gunn's sake, because otherwise he looks like a huge moron.
You're a poor excuse for a man, get out.
This plot just sounds dumb, and honestly when you consider how many superheroes are in this movie, the terrible costumes start to make more sense. The amount of CGI they're gonna need, the amount of actors they have to pay, no wonder they couldn't afford Henry Cavill or a Superman suit that doesn't look like cheap cosplay. I've seen way too many James Gunn lies to believe anything he says anymore, so I'm more than inclined to believe he lied about the Middle Eastern plot, which makes this summary seem even more likely to be real. A Superman movie stuffed with heroes from the Justice League's B team, on top of characters nobody cares about that Gunn just wants to attach the Superman name to in order to hype up their solo projects sounds awful enough, but then you add on this community theater costume and it just makes me ashamed to be a DC fan.